So without any further ado, I'd like to welcome Melissa Taylor with a great local family story.
Thanks, John. Thanks. Hi. Oh, thank God. That's a tough gig to follow, can I just say? Wow. I've got notes and I'm really sorry, but A, they're a crutch, and B, you start me talking about my company and I won't stop. So I need these to follow. So I'm really sorry. Just want to echo Steve's words. I met John a couple of weeks ago, a month ago, and I walked away from that meeting on cloud, not 9, but 99. It was one of the most amazing experiences I've had for a long time. I felt rejuvenated, I felt excited, and then I stopped and I went, oh my God, he wants me to talk. Okay, he wants to hear my story. But this guy is incredible, and I'm so excited to be involved with Business Depot and to be here with you tonight and to share my story. I hope you love it. I do love my story. So I'm just going to tell it, and I hope you learn something or take something from it. I do get a bit emotional too, sorry. But I remember the afternoon so well. Nevada and I were driving out to Spices Peak Lodge. I'd finished work a little bit early, snuck out because it was Friday. But I hadn't quite switched off, and we were driving out towards Warwick and checking my emails. And I saw this one email from Queensland Trucking Association, and I read it 3 times because I didn't really believe what it said. I had now been a finalist in the Queensland Trucking Association's Trucking Woman of the Year. Trucker. We often say that we don't have blood in our veins in our family, we have diesel. We are 98 years old, and I know I keep my age very well. But this was an award that meant so much to me because it meant so much to my family. I started crying. Poor Nevada had no idea what was going on. I couldn't even get the words out. And then I tried to ring my parents, and I was a blubbering mess. And I couldn't even tell my dad. Finally got there. The awards night finally arrived, and I remember walking into the room. It was dressed beautifully for a great celebration and success. I had a brand new dress on that Nevada had bought me, so I was feeling a bit special. But I was so nervous. I could hardly eat. There were flashing water bottles, there was music. It was incredible, there was such an amazing vibe. But all I could think was, oh my God, can anyone else hear my heart beating, because it was so loud. Then I remember my name being called, but it was so distant. And then Nevada was hugging me. Mum and Dad were hugging me. I was glued to my chair and I couldn't move. They had just announced that I'd won Queensland Trucking Woman of the Year. Didn't feel like much of a trucker in my gown, I can tell you. But all I could think on the way up was, oh my God, where did they get that photo from? I walked and I walked and I walked, and it was the longest walk of my life. But all I could think was, tonight, my father was going to be so proud of me. That moment, and the moment that I walked into Taylor's 11 and a half years ago, were the proudest moments of my life. Being 4th generation of a trucking family, trucks have been part of our life forever. We even wore the t-shirts to prove it. The smoother movers. And did I cop that at high school? But however, trucks weren't actually part of my career choice, because I'd asked Dad to join the company and he said no. So when I was in high school, I thought, what am I going to do? He won't let me join the company. So I went from being a pharmacist to wanting to be a coroner, had the papers filled out to join the Navy and go to ADFA, the Australian Defence Force Academy, and then I ended up going to Norway for 12 months. Go figure. So I came back and went to university and did a Bachelor of Business, double major economics and government, because I figured, well, I liked economics at school, so I'll just do that. I'm the oldest of 4 girls, and growing up I always wanted to be like my dad. I even tried his pants on. Not a fashion statement. What was I thinking? But I now look back and I think I had big pants to fill. We lived in a predominantly all-boy neighbourhood. So you can imagine us 4 girls and all the boys. And growing up, my dad drove the trucks. He didn't just walk into the office. He drove the trucks and he'd be away all week. He'd be at Broome, he'd be in Perth. At one time, he got stuck on the Nullarbor for 12 days. Couldn't move, no mobile phones, bogged. Had to wait for another truck to come by, tow him to Perth, and then the truck got put on a train to come back to Toowoomba. So we didn't see Dad much. So he'd be away all week. He'd come home Friday night or Saturday morning, and we'd be so excited. And he'd come home, and there's this big truck on our footpath. And we thought we were great because our dad, with all the girls, showed the boys this big truck. So anyway, he'd be on all Saturday loading or unloading the truck, and he'd wash the truck, and then he'd go away Sunday night or Monday morning and be away again. So when Dad came home on that Saturday, we begged him to take us for a drive in that truck. So you can imagine 4 girls sitting in the bunker, driving around the block. We thought we were driving around the world. It was so much fun, and I felt like the queen of the world. And then he'd go up to the depot, do what he had to do, wash the truck, etc. And I, again, would beg him to go with him. And he'd always say, no, it's not a job for girls. And I'd go, but that's not fair. The boy cousins can go. Why can't I? Answer was always no. But I never gave up my nagging. My poor father. During my uni days, I fell into the rag trade. And all this time, I never stopped tapping him on the shoulder. Please let me join you. But in the meantime, I carved out my own career, and it was a successful one in fashion retail. Moved to Sydney, had one of Australia's largest stores in fashion retail in Pitt Street Mall, finished my degree, and always still nagging Dad. I've always been quite career driven, and I don't know why, it was just always innate. And I accepted any challenge that was ever given to me without so much as a second thought. I always just said yes. I worked extremely hard for that career aspiration and always wanted to become a regional manager or beyond, but I was always tapping him on the shoulder, please let me come with you. Finally, in 2004, I did up a bound proposal of the pros and cons of me joining the business, and he finally said yes. But the day he said yes was the day I was offered regional manager of Queensland. They say blood is thicker than water. I had to have 5 minutes to think about that one, but you all know my answer. It was such a sliding door moment. There are so many moments in our lives that change our lives forever. These are the moments that a sliding door opens, and it's up to us. We either walk through it or we let it close. I've always believed in sliding doors, and this is one moment, as with most, I jumped right on through. People often say to me, why do you do what you do? You're in fashion and now you're in trucks. It's such a gigantic leap, and yes, it was. And I'm sure the team at Taylor's had no idea what hit them when this beret-wearing, stiletto-wearing woman walked to that depot. Who the hell is she? I do what I do because I love my heritage and I love the legacy of my family. I see myself as the custodian of this family legacy, and it's vitally important to me that I do it justice and that I see it live on. I often look at the photo of my great-grandfather in my office, William George Taylor, and I often think, what would he be thinking now? Would he really think that his company was still alive 98 years later and a girl was running it? Hasn't always been an easy journey, but when you love something as much as you do, it's so worth it. I had so many obstacles to overcome. I was the daughter of the owner and I was a girl, so what would I know about the industry? And I'm sure my father still thinks of me sometimes as that little girl in pigtails with a frilly lace dress. This was a role that was definitely not one that a woman traditionally took on. I had to prove myself as a businesswoman that I wanted to be there, and I had to learn the industry. And I learned a lot I did, and I'm still learning. When I started at Taylor's, I started in admin, a traditionally female role. But I wanted more, and I knew I had to earn it, and earn it I did. I was the first female in 4 generations to become managing director. A month after I started, I began the research to start our subsidiary company, INFOstor by Taylor's, a records management company that does hard copy archiving, document destruction and scanning. We're now one of the largest records management companies in our region. I want to shift the culture of this predominantly male-dominated industry. They say the journey of 10,000 steps begins with one. I've always seen myself as a pioneer, and I've taken the first step of my journey, but I don't want to just walk it, I want to run it. The transport and logistics industry is an exciting one. It's one that supports so many other industries, but it isn't often recognised as a driving force of our economy the way that it really is. And it's never considered one worthy of career selection. So many opportunities abound for men and women, and when most people think of our industry, they think of a truck driver driving a road train. I do have my truck licence, but I certainly don't drive a road train, and I don't drive a truck very often either. But so many of us fall into this industry, and it's rare that this industry is chosen as a career, let alone one by a woman. And as a woman, it seems that we have to make a choice between personal fulfillment and professional success. Our question should be, how do we change this? How do we make it different? How do we keep women in this workforce? How do we keep them from dropping out? Mentoring, government and company programs are all important initiatives. But I think we need to look at this from a different angle. What are the messages we are telling ourselves, our daughters, our nieces, and our colleagues? Why does this happen, and why is it important? It's important because no one gets to the corner office by standing on the sideline and not at the table. As Sheryl Sandberg says in her TED Talk, we have to sit at the table. The data shows likability and success. The data shows that likability and success are positively correlated for men, but it's negatively correlated for women. Men attribute their success to themselves, and women attribute it to external factors. That's the data. We have to back ourselves and each other more. We must be prepared to support each other, and we have to be prepared to sit at the table and put up our hand. I want to change the way the transport industry is perceived by society and women, and encourage each other to put up our hands. This is why the award is so important to me. It affords me the in to showcase our industry and the pathways it offers. I want to drive it, and not just from behind the wheel. Our cause is up to us to drive. We just need to keep tapping those shoulders, and eventually someone will turn around and listen.